but that is the reality of these extraordinarily fast-moving times in which we live. Everyone on the planet knows what a glittering success the funeral was. However, while her ambition is seemingly boundless, it's safe to say the full verdict awaits on Ms. Truss and her plans. No one should be surprised at the revolutionary zeal being expressed by the PM. Just see this social media message from March 2018, "This generation are sick, #Uber riding, #Airbnb-ing, #Deliveroo eating, #Freedom Fighters." That clarion call is matched by an almost gladiatorial approach to what she wants to get done. Having seen her up close and personal, as I hosted both the first and last hustings to be leader, it seems very little phases her. Remind her how, as a liberal Democrat, she called for the abolition of the monarchy, and she blames it on poorly targeted youthful vigor. Suggest her less than diplomatic views concerning Nicola Sturgeon or Emmanuel Macron are not what you would expect from a foreign secretary, let alone a prime minister, and she just smiles and says she is ready to have her opinions changed. This is a woman with an unwavering belief in her political philosophy, who is ready to ride out the storm her tax-cutting, pro-business policies is guaranteed to cause. To her credit, she seems far more in tune with conventional conservative thinking and is a genuine and more dedicated believer in free markets than any of her Tory predecessors, namely David Cameron, Theresa May, and Boris Johnson. After the weather-vane approach of May, remember nothing's changed with her calamitous social care policy, and Johnson, his shambolic uncertainty over gay conversion therapy. This steadfastness is admirable, but can she stick to it? She heads a government that wants to scrap the cap on bankers' bonuses and help businesses by reversing plans to hike corporate tax. While at the same time she is telling around 120,000 benefit claimants they risk losing payments if they do not show suitable desire to get a job or increase their hours or pay if they are in part-time work. The bankers' bonuses move is right, by the way. It was a restrictive relic from our membership of the EU, and remember, we do not pay the bonuses, the banks do. The theory is it will help attract the world's best financial talent to work and pay taxes in the UK, and if it helps turn the city into the Singapore-on-Thames that many hope, the positive impact it would have on the economy would be enormous. But, the government needs to remember it is little more than 2 years from the next general election. Whether voters in red wall constituencies will warm to much of Friday's mini-budget is highly debatable. Ms. Truss clearly relishes the comparisons with Margaret Thatcher and even courts them on occasion with her dress sense and photo opportunities. But there is a considerable, and concerning, difference between her and the late Mrs. Thatcher. Think of Mrs. T's inner circle and names such as Sir Alan Walters, David Young and Cecil Parkinson spring to mind. Whether Ms. Truss is surrounded by that level of economic knowledge and street smarts is a moot point. But the die is cast. Everything hinges on her libertarian, free market plans stimulating growth and that in turn encouraging more investment to the UK, with entrepreneurs starting new businesses or expanding existing ones and paying more in taxation. The superb success of the funeral of the Queen last week will help guarantee the future of the monarchy for decades, if not centuries, to come. If Liz Truss fails with the policies she outlined last week, she'll struggle to get to the end of her term. NHS reforms come up short. The reforms planned for the NHS revealed last week seemed a little short on detail. instructing doctors to end the ludicrous 8 a.m. scramble for appointments and ensure all patients can be seen within 14 days are empty promises if they are not backed up by suitable government initiatives and possible cash. There is a chronic shortage of doctors in the system, and the rate of GPs retiring, in some instances due to fatigue, is increasing. It takes 7 years to train a doctor to be ready for general practice, so we need to start feeding the conveyor belt now. How about scrapping the ludicrously huge amount of money people must pay to train as a doctor as a starter? Lord's tradition hit for 6. Seeing as it is a sport entirely based on tradition, the actions of the Lord's cricket ground hierarchy over the Eton v Harrow and Oxford v Cambridge matches played there is baffling. They have scrapped these traditions, dating back to 1805 and 1827 respectively, in a drive to make the sport more inclusive and to make room for players from more diverse backgrounds. What a load of balls. The season is long enough to accommodate all the matches. Members of Lords as well as many England stars of the past are furious. They are right. Let us hope these Lords losers are skittled out sharpish. Powerful images from Queen's funeral will stay with us for a lifetime. When asked what was the most powerful image from all the events of the Queen's funeral, listeners to my LBC breakfast show voted for the shot of the Lone Piper. It was undeniably powerful and will stay with us for many a year. But for me it would have been a picture of Prince George. This is the 9-year-old boy who could, if his relatives' genes are anything to go by, be reigning into the next century. While that speaks volumes about the boundless majesty of the entire monarchy, all the picture of young George shows is a respectful but mournful little chap doing his best not to let down his family. Police must get a hold on Midlands sectarian clashes. The ugly clashes between mostly young Muslims and Hindus that started in Leicester has now spread across the Midlands and arrived in Birmingham. Leicester is a city I know extremely well, and this blots an impeccable record on racial integration. But here is a message to the police and community leaders. You need to stop saying how well everyone had been getting on and how you hope the communities can come together. Clearly they cannot, and it falls to you to take action, not trot out meaningless sound bites. End the Holly and Phil witch hunt. The witch hunt against Philip Schofield and Holly Willoughby over their visit to the Queen's lying-in state is bewildering. I have worked with these two for more than a decade, and they are genuine people who would never have jumped a queue in the fashion they are accused of. And staying with this theme, when I lost my mum a few years back, their flowers at her funeral carried a poignant personal message. I know we Brits love queuing, but this outrage is utterly misplaced. Let funeral planners run our institutions unmatched in its reverence and brilliance. While the funeral of Elizabeth II was a desperately poignant affair, it was also a triumph of planning and execution. Any chance those behind it could now go on to run the NHS, or our schools, or the Transport Department, or our civil service? Wine of the week. In keeping with the mood of the nation, an English wine this week. The Simpsons Rosé is more than a match for much you will find in Europe, and it is £13.59 at Waitrose.